Hi, I'm Tess and I'm on unceded Kaurna country in South Australia, recording this video about my PhD project entitled Criminalise Young People and the Worlds We Create for Them, an exploration of the carceral logic, power and subjectivity. I want to start, like I do with all my presentations, with a brief reflective activity and a story. First, I want you to imagine a life where decisions were made about you based solely on what others have said, where people were drawing conclusions about your life and what your future might look like without ever having asked you. Let me now introduce you to Gus. Gus is 17 and is wickedly funny. He adores his mum and calls her 4 times every day just to see how she's going. He's also currently in prison and he isn't where this problem begins. Gus was removed from his mum's care at 2, and despite her being drug-free and stable for 12 years now, Gus has remained in state care, cycling through countless group homes. He's experienced homelessness, police violence, racism, and disconnection from his family and culture. And in this context, he's done some terrible things. But again, Gus isn't where this problem begins. I've worked with countless criminalised young people, and I've seen how society exacerbates and in some ways creates this problem. When I first met 16-year-old Angela, she was homeless. Despite daily efforts, it would take her, like many other homeless girls, 3 months to find housing. While enduring this wait on a cold and stormy night, Angela broke into a car to sleep, was arrested and locked up, an intervention costing about 7 times as much as housing her within the community. Criminalised young people are a heavily studied population, with plenty being said about them in research and discourse. However, voices like Gus's and Angela's are often missing. The existing evidence base is generally quantitative and individualising in its approach to understanding the drivers of crime. It often employs what academics like Decker call silencing methods. They either don't talk to young people at all, instead drawing from secondary data like court reports or intake and assessment documents, or when they do, are highly structured, setting the parameters for what can be said. Take the body of work using the Adverse Childhood Experiences, or ACEs scale, as an example. Criminological ACEs studies purport to quantify the adversities that criminalised young people have experienced. These studies are prolific and significant in their influence of our understandings of the drivers of crime. However, they often draw from secondary data, and when they don't, they still assess only individual experiences of adversity like parental abuse, neglect, parental divorce. Whilst these positive studies have contributed significantly and advanced our understandings of criminalised young people as an often highly traumatised population, by focusing solely on individual factors, they disregard larger structural issues like racism and poverty. Through this lens, we continue to see these young people and their dysfunctional families as the source of crime and the sole target of intervention. Unlike these approaches, my research is post-structural, narrative and co-designed, meaning all stages have been developed in collaboration with people with lived experiences of criminalisation. My guiding question was, what can we learn from the everyday lives, lived experiences and narratives of criminalised young people? Over the past year, I've conducted 38 interviews with 16 criminalised young people. These interviews have been guided by a tool I created in an attempt to provide a safe and developmentally appropriate method that enhances participant agency and enables each interview to be a co-production. This tool is comprised of 52 prompt cards, some of them shown on this slide. Upon first meeting with young people, we go through each of these cards together and participants place each card into a yes, a no, or a maybe pile. Participants place a card in the yes pile if it's something that feels interesting, important, and most importantly, it's something they feel safe discussing with me. Once we've been through each of the cards, those placed in the no and the maybe piles are removed from the table. The participant is asked to choose the card they'd like to start with. I generally respond with something along the lines of, interesting, there's a side of you that people don't see. How come you chose that card? What does it mean to you? And so that's how the narrative interview begins. Once conversation about a particular topic draws to a close, rather than me, the middle-class, white, non-criminalised researcher, guiding the interview to themes that are of interest to me, we return to the deck of cards and the participant again chooses another card to discuss. So this is an approach that constantly returns them to the driver's seat. When allowed to speak outside the often individualising parameters of positivist research, the young people have brought forth narratives that are messy, nuanced, and paint a pretty grim picture of the society we've created for them. I'm really looking forward to moving into the analysis phase of this research. Every year, Australia invests millions of dollars into locking children as young as 10 up. Some figures suggest it's about $2,000 per child per day. Imagine what we could do for Gus or Angela with that money. The cost of society isn't just financial though. We know from existing research that locking kids up also makes us all less safe, as it exacerbates all known drivers of crime. We can't keep punishing our way out of social inequity. Instead, we need to begin envisioning ways of responding to harm without perpetuating it, and building communities that meet all of our needs. But as long as we continue excluding voices like these from research and treating crime as coming from within individuals, we're going to continue making the same mistakes we've made for decades. As Jax, one of my research participants, once reflected, this is why I like the research you're doing. You're sharing the stories others won't let us tell. It's easier when I'm the problem. Thanks for your time.